Jordan Peterson is a psychologist and professor, and he's made a great splash critiquing social justice warriors, which was way overdue and very helpful. Not that social justice warriors are all bad or anything. He's great at scientific psychology, like statistics and IQ tests and the Big Five personality theory. He is also good at like Jungian psychology and the hero's journey analysis, but I think his worldview is way off, and so I'll be analysing that based on my book, Happiness is the Starting Place.
It's not an accident that the axiomatic Western individual is someone who was unfairly nailed to a cross and tortured. It's like, yes!
We're off to an intense start. So this is somebody who's executed. And Jordan's fairly conservative in many respects. So, yeah, you could say that it's conservatives that executed him. Like if it was Pharisees, they were religious conservatives. If it was the Romans, well, it was more likely the Romans. Pontius Pilate was the local administrator, and he wanted to maintain order. And generally, that's a conservative issue, is they want to maintain order, avoid too much disruption and change. And Jesus was certainly disruptive. I mean, he was more advanced than everybody else at the time, so we can't have that.
So what do you do about that?
And what you do about it is you analyse it and understand the cause and effect.
Well, you don't get together in a damn mob, because all that does is allow you to be as horrible as you could possibly imagine and suffer from none of the consequences.
I think he's talking about social justice warrior protests. Not sure. Mobs are very unreliable because they're very simplistic.
There's a deep idea in the West, too. It's like, pick up your damn suffering and bear it.
I think this approach of bearing suffering was appropriate back in the past when things were difficult, but I think the purpose of dealing with difficulty is to get to the end of it and then to be happy afterwards. So people in the West now, or in many wealthy countries, the suffering's past. The survival pressure and the poverty and the hunger and dealing with wars and natural disasters is past. So it's time to enjoy life. It's time to show appreciation for the conservatives of the past that got us here. Appreciation is a form of happiness, and being happy is showing appreciation for what they've done, what they've achieved.
And try to be a good person so you don't make it worse.
Why do we have to try to be a good person? Is our nature to be a bad person or a blank slate? I'd say our nature is to be happy and good-willed once survival pressures and illusions have passed.
I read a lot about the terrible things that people have done to each other. You just cannot even imagine it. It's so awful.
But why did people do those things? Was it's survival pressure, instincts, like the chemicals in our body that push us to do those things. It was the chaos of the world, thinking that you could die any day. So it was either instinctual or it was based on illusions such as communism or religious fanaticism.
So you don't want to be someone like that. Now, do you have a reason to be? Yes. You have lots of reasons to be. God, there's reasons to be resentful about your existence. Everyone you know is going to die.
Well, see, that's a very gloomy view of the world. This world's also a fantastic opportunity. And the pain and restriction of death can be ameliorated almost totally now with drugs.
And there's going to be a fair bit of pain along the way, and lots of it's going to be unfair. It's like, yeah, no wonder you're resentful.
Our experience in the past was unfair, for sure, because humankind developed without an instruction manual, without any explanation for how we got here. And even now we don't have a cast iron explanation for how we got here. So there was reason to be resentful in the past, but now that we've got ourselves sorted out and things are going well and potentially much, much better, there's no reason to be resentful unless you're in a bad nation or some unlucky circumstance.
There's this idea that hell is a bottomless pit, and that's because no matter how bad it is, some stupid son of a bitch like you could figure out a way to make it a lot worse.
That's true. He's dead on there, but we are now in charge of making things better for ourselves. And we can look in society to see where the suffering is caused by us. And it's not caused by individuals, it's caused by society's illusion that we're lacking and flawed, which divides us against ourselves and each other and distracts us away from the innate happiness and goodwill of being.
So you think, well, what do you do about that? Well, you accept it.
No, that's a reaction. We don't want to just react. We want to understand the cause and effect.
That's what life is like. It's suffering. That's what the religious people have always said.
Religions came up in the past when things were bad, when circumstances were difficult. People lived to 30, and if you had a toothache, they would get a hammer and chisel and knock it out. Tough times. Women dying in childbirth, no explanation for diseases and natural disasters. That was the past, but all that's been sorted out now for a lot of people.
Well, so what do you do in the face of that suffering? Try to reduce it. Definitely try to reduce the suffering. And we've done a good job of it so far, certainly on the physical side of things with drugs and whatnot. In addition to seeing how we reduce it, we should look at how we create it. And we create it by thinking badly of ourselves, of our species. What good are you? Get yourself together, for Christ's sake, so that when your father dies, you're not whining away in a corner, and you can help plan the funeral, and you can stand up solidly so that people can rely on you.
That's good, especially in difficult circumstances. But Jordan didn't live up to that ideal when there were problems in his family. But that's not to judge him at all. I think we're all perfectly innocent and perfectly good. It's just that ideals are reactions to life. They're not based on an understanding. And so if our worldview is negative, that human beings are lacking and flawed, which society's conditioned us to believe since babyhood, then that makes us feel bad, distracts us from our innate happiness and goodwill, and then we form an ideal to compensate. But that's like 2 steps removed from the original problem, which is the negative view of human beings.
If you put yourself together, you know how to do that. You know what's wrong with you, if you'll admit it. You know there's a few things you could polish up a little bit.
Certainly polishing things up a little bit is good, like he talks about cleaning your room and that sort of thing. And I noticed that minimization of possessions and cleaning my room and sorting everything out and making it all nice definitely helped, because I think there's a background energy leak into worrying about seeing the same drab circumstance over and over again.
Maybe you could bring your family together instead of having them be the hateful, spiteful, neurotic, infighting batch that you're doomed to spend Christmas with.
He speaks fantastically well. I mean, we all know that, right? The family thing at Christmas. But again, we've got to analyse why these things happen. What's the cause and effect? And I'd say that the nuclear family should be seen as part of the community and not so isolated. When a person like reaches adulthood, there should be a time when they officially leave the family and that role of parent and child ends. There's still a little bit there, you know, a connection and appreciation, but not stuck in the same old behaviours due to the failure of a ritual of closure.
Well, can you figure out how to make peace with your idiot brother? And probably not, because he's just as dumb as you. So how the hell are you going to manage that?
So there's the dumb comment. So there's morality and dumbness. So there's lacking intelligence and morally flawed. Evaluations of human beings in all domains tends to degenerate into these baseline assumptions. And that distracts us away from the real issues. We just judge ourselves and others, and it's just a complete waste of time.
You've done something difficult that's actually difficult. You're a little wiser, and so then maybe you could put a tentative finger out beyond the family and try to change some little thing without wrecking it.
Well, I think it's quite telling that he's going from the family and just going beyond that little border of the nuclear family is like very careful and cautious. We should be completely engaged with the community at the same time and throughout childhood. There's not much lessons you can take from the family to the world. I mean, the world is a huge place with lots of knowledge and understanding.
Our society is complex, and we teach our students that they could just fix it. It's like, go fix a military helicopter and see how far you get with that. And you have to be like a golden tool to fix things, and you're not.
To fix things, we just need to understand cause and effect. That's why science has been so powerful, because it's dug for causes rather than reacting like Jordan is.
How do you overcome the suffering of life? Is be a better person.
No, you understand the cause of the suffering. And the cause is instinctual survival stuff and societal illusion that we're lacking and flawed. Illusion that we're lacking and flawed was a useful tool in the past because it helped us control things when we didn't know what was going on. It's just time to reevaluate it now because things have gotten better.
You want to have a meaningful life? Everything you do matters.
So he's very much into meaning, but I think he's more about purpose, you know. I think the meaning of life is happiness, because everything we do is ultimately for some form of happiness. Therefore, it's the implicit meaning we always give to life. Even wanting to understand purpose, have a purpose or meaning, or to contribute to the world like he's suggesting. Why? It's to make things better. Better means happier.
Or do you want to just forget about the whole meaning thing, and then you don't have any responsibility because who the hell cares, and you can wander through life doing whatever you want, gratifying impulsive desires for how useful that's going to be.
That's a false dichotomy there between meaning versus impulsive gratification. There's a third alternative, which is to be liberated from survival pressures and social illusions so that you return to the innate happiness and goodwill of being and act from there. His assumption is that life's bad and we're bad and everything's bad. But that's not true. That's just part of our past experience, and certainly with a lot of evidence from the past, but it was due to difficult times.
It isn't the majority of your soul that's pursuing the whole meaning thing, because, well, look what you have to do that. You have to take on the fact that life is suffering. You have to put yourself together in the face of that.
Why are we pursuing meaning and all that? It's like we've got this amazing universe, an amazing planet, and amazing sensitive bodies, and we're pursuing meaning? Isn't meaning already there? So this wonderful, amazing miracle, appreciate it and enjoy it.
I'm stunned every day when I go outside, and it isn't a riot with everything burning. Because
Well, why be stunned? I mean, the Conservative job and the job of responsibility was to sort that out, and they did a good job and they sorted it out. So now we should keep moving forward. Why does he think we're going to keep going backwards? It's like the only alternative is backwards or the status quo. No, the alternative is to move forward, and by looking back and saying, okay, what worked in the past and what didn't, and what are our assumptions and motivations, and what's the cause and effect operating in our lives.
that's how our civilization works. It's like there's all these ruined people out there. They've got problems like you can't believe. Off they go to work and do things they don't even like. And look, the lights are on. My God, it's unbelievable. We
should definitely appreciate what people do. And the negative view of people as of being, what he said before, dumb and decadent and immoral and all that. Wow, where's his appreciation of what people do? People go to school for 10 years or 15 years, and then they work 40 hours a week, raise children for 20 years, and it's all within a context of society saying negative things about human beings. I mean, human beings are amazing. We should completely be appreciating human beings, not judging them constantly like he's doing.
college students, the postmodern types, they're so ungrateful.
That's true. They're complaining about like the last remaining injustices rather than at least partly appreciating all the injustices that have been fixed.
It's a miracle that all this stuff works, that all you crazy chimpanzees that don't know each other can sit in the same room for 2 hours sweltering away without tearing each other apart, because that's what chimps do.
We're not chimps. Our past has that in it, and the remnants are in our bodies, like the glands and all that. But we're way more advanced than chimps, you know. And we've sorted things out so that sort of behaviour is much less likely because our survival needs are being fulfilled. Next is to remove the overhang of the past, which is the belief that human beings are lacking and flawed. But Jordan is reinforcing the belief that we're lacking and flawed. That's a problem with the conservatives. They need to see that they've done the job. The job's been done, and now it's time to move forward. They did great in building up law and order and maintaining stability. But now it's time to reap the rewards. Because what's the point of building it up if we don't appreciate the results? And we honour people in the past by enjoying life now and thanking them for what they did. Life takes place in 2 steps. First stage is establishing security in order to survive, and then the purpose of surviving is to enjoy life. Otherwise, why bother? And so the happiness is the second stage. And the happiness has 2 aspects, as being and doing. And if we remove the negative view of humankind, then we enjoy the happiness of being, and then our doing will be more harmonious because we won't be desperately trying to fill a supposed lack, or fix the supposed flaws by judging and punishing others. Well, the conservatives are maintaining a problem so long as they are judging human beings. But the liberals do it too. The social justice warriors are full of judgment and criticism. They're just completely off base as well. They think evil patriarchy is the cause of all our problems, but that's a very simplistic analysis. And if we remove the belief that human beings are lacking and flawed, then that criticism of left and right will evaporate because the fuel's not there, and then we directly look at the real issues rather than wasting time criticising each other.
And then I've got this idea about what you might do about it, which isn't my idea. It's not my idea. It's an old idea. It's far older than Christianity. It's old. It's the oldest story of mankind. Get yourself together. Transcend your suffering. See if you can be some kind of hero. Make the suffering in the world less. Well, that's the way forward, as far as I can tell, if there is any way forward. And that's what's under assault by the postmodernists.
Notice that he says that it's old, 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 old. Exactly. Why should we be operating on a program that's that old? It's out of date. It's time to reassess. And regarding the postmodernists, well, postmodernism's pretty advanced in our society, but it's corrupted by a lack of appreciation for the past and for conservatism. Anyway, I might leave it there. Thanks for watching.